Welcome to the deep dive. We're tackling something really important today, a life stage every woman goes through, but honestly, often isn't fully understood, especially maybe by the men in their lives.
That's right. We're talking about perimenopause and menopause.
Exactly. And we've got some great articles here really aimed at giving you, the listener, a clear picture of what your partner might be experiencing, and importantly, how you can best support her.
Yeah, our mission today is really to, cut through some of the noise and confusion. We want to clarify what's actually happening during these transitions.
Give you the essentials, the language.
Exactly. The language to navigate this with empathy. Think of it like a quick guide, helping you understand what she's going through so you can navigate it, well, together.
Okay, perfect. So let's jump right in. When we talk about perimenopause and menopause, what are we actually defining here? What are the stages, the typical timelines?
Right. So perimenopause, literally, it means around menopause. It's that whole transition time as a woman's body starts gearing up for menopause.
And when does that usually start?
Typically, you're looking at the mid to late 40s, say around 45 to 50. But honestly, it can start earlier for some women. We've seen sources mention late 30s, early 40s even.
Okay. And hormonally, what's going on during that phase?
So the main thing happening is the ovaries. They gradually start producing less estrogen. But interestingly, progesterone levels often fall first, and they can fluctuate, like wildly.
Oh, okay.
And estrogen becomes erratic too, generally declining over time. A big clue for perimenopause is often changes in periods. Maybe they get irregular, the flow changes, sometimes heavier.
Right.
And this is really important. Pregnancy is actually still possible during perimenopause.
Good point. So this phase, perimenopause, it sounds like it could be quite unpredictable. How long are we talking?
It really can be. And the duration varies a lot. Our sources suggest it can last anywhere from about, say, 4 years up to maybe even 10 years for some women.
10 years. Wow, that's a significant amount of time.
It really is.
So after that, we eventually reach menopause itself. What defines that point?
Menopause is, technically speaking, just one day. It's the point when a woman has her very last spontaneous period,
Okay.
but it's diagnosed retrospectively. You only know it was menopause after she's gone a full year, 12 consecutive months, without any period at all.
Ah, I see. So you look back 12 months.
Exactly. And just a note, if menopause happens earlier, like before age 45, what we call early menopause, sometimes doctors wait for 24 months without a period to confirm it.
Got it. And the average age for this?
It hovers around 50 or 51. One of our articles mentioned 51 as the average in the UK specifically.
And then after that 12-month mark has passed, what's that stage called?
That's postmenopause, basically all the years after menopause has been confirmed.
And do symptoms change then? Do they ease off?
It varies again, For some women, yes, the more intense symptoms might start to lessen during postmenopause, but for others, unfortunately, symptoms can actually continue for many, many years.
It really underscores how unique everyone's experience is, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now, we also mentioned briefly that menopause isn't always natural, I guess. There are other ways it can happen.
That's right. Besides the natural winding down of the ovaries, you can have surgical menopause. That's when both ovaries are surgically removed.
Okay.
Then there's medical or induced menopause. This can happen due to treatments like, say, chemotherapy or radiation therapy or certain medications that suppress the ovaries.
And I imagine the symptoms might hit differently then.
Yes, often much more suddenly and intensely in those cases because the hormone drop is abrupt, not gradual.
Right.
And we should also mention premature or early menopause happening before 40 or before 45. The causes aren't always clear, actually, which makes getting expert medical support really vital for women experiencing that.
This framework is really helpful. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. There are definitely some, myths or misconceptions floating around about menopause, particularly maybe things men might think. What are some common ones?
Oh, definitely. There are a few key ones that can cause real disconnects. One biggie is the idea that menopause just sort of happens overnight, like flipping a switch.
Yeah, I can see that.
But as we've just discussed, the reality is it's usually a really gradual process taking years, right?
Yeah.
That whole perimenopause lead up.
Right, so not sudden. What else?
Another huge one is thinking it's basically just hot flashes.
Ah, the classic symptom.
Exactly. But it's so much more than that. Our sources mentioned there can be over 30, one even said 34 different symptoms linked to menopause. It's a much wider experience.
Over 30. Wow. Okay, that is definitely more complex than just hot flashes. Any other common misunderstandings?
Well, there's one that can be particularly damaging, I think. It's the idea that if a partner seems irritable or emotional, she might be overreacting.
Oof, yeah.
The truth is, these major hormonal shifts, they have incredibly real, powerful effects on both physical and emotional health. It's really not something she can just, control easily or will away.
That feels like a crucial point for empathy. It's physiological, not just attitude.
Precisely.
So we've established perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause. What other key terms would be useful for someone, trying to understand all this, building that shared vocabulary you mentioned?
Yeah, that's a great idea. So besides the stages, understanding the main hormones involved is key. We're talking mainly about estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone.
Okay.
Progesterone, you can kind of think of it as having calming effects, maybe helping with sleep for some women.
Yeah.
Estrogen has really wide-ranging impacts all over the body,
Yeah.
mood, skin, vaginal health, bones, lots of things.
And testosterone, isn't that usually thought of as a male hormone?
It is, but women have it too, just in smaller amounts.
Yeah.
And it plays a role in energy levels, bone and muscle strength, even things like confidence and libido.
Interesting. Any other terms?
You'll probably hear HRT mentioned. That stands for hormone replacement therapy. It's one of the main treatment options for managing symptoms.
Right, HRT.
And maybe a more informal one you might hear is menopause brain.
Menopause brain.
Yeah, it's sort of a shorthand for those times of forgetfulness or difficulty concentrating that some women experience.
Huh. Okay. Menopause brain.
I think a few people might recognize that feeling. All right, let's dig into those symptoms more now. We know it's not just hot flashes. So what are some of the other ways menopause can show up, and how might these affect a relationship?
Right. We can kind of group them into, say, physical, emotional, and then some other, maybe less common ones.
Okay, let's start with physical.
Okay, so beyond the hot flashes, you've got night sweats, which are basically hot flashes happening at night. They can seriously disrupt sleep.
I can imagine.
Yeah. One survey we looked at found like 38% of men said their partner's night sweats and insomnia impacted their intimacy.
Wow.
Then there's vaginal dryness and maybe pain with sex. Lower estrogen leads to less natural lubrication and thinning tissues down there. Research actually suggests about 2/3 of women experience painful sex post-menopause.
2/3? That's huge. It is. But the good news there is that treatment often significantly improves things for couples. Other physical things. Sleep problems, general insomnia, not just from night sweats, but maybe anxiety too. And that lack of sleep feeds into fatigue, mood swings, lower libido.
It's all connected.
Totally. Also things like weight gain, especially around the middle, thinning hair, dry skin, maybe joint and muscle aches, just persistent fatigue, heart palpitations sometimes, changes in body odor, urinary issues like incontinence, breast tenderness. It's quite a list.
It really is an extensive list of potential physical changes. What about the emotional and mental side of things?
That's another major area. Mood swings and irritability are very common. And we're not talking just, having a bad day. These can be quite sudden chronic shifts.
Right.
It's often linked to those fluctuating hormones messing with brain chemicals like serotonin that regulate mood. Women might describe feeling, unreasonable or snappy or just always tired and cranky. Then there's anxiety, sometimes depression, those memory lapses. The menopause brain we mentioned, difficulty concentrating.
Yeah.
And maybe feeling just generally more emotionally sensitive, like crying more easily at things.
It sounds incredibly disruptive, just trying to go about your daily life with all that going on.
Exactly.
And you mentioned another category, too.
Yeah, there's some symptoms that are maybe less common or less talked about, but still very real for some women. Things like bloating, new or worse allergies, digestive upsets, weird sensations like feeling tiny electric shocks.
Really?
Yeah. Tinnitus or ringing in the ears, burning mouth syndrome, dizziness, itchy skin for no apparent reason, muscle tension, tingling in hands or feet. The list is surprisingly long.
Wow. It's almost overwhelming just hearing the range of possibilities. So how does all this constellation of potential symptoms, how does it tend to impact the relationship itself?
Well, the impact can be pretty significant, and it works in a few ways. Obviously, just lack of awareness about why these changes are happening can lead to misunderstandings, frustration, maybe resentment on both sides.
Yeah, I can see that.
A partner might feel like they're constantly, walking on eggshells, never quite sure what might trigger an upset. And rejection in the bedroom, whether it's because of pain or discomfort or just low libido, that can lead to feelings of inadequacy, distance, good feelings for both partners.
Sure.
Overall, you can see a decrease in both emotional and physical closeness. One source mentioned a husband feeling, less connected, less excited to come home because things felt so distant.
That's tough.
Yeah. And the partner going through menopause might withdraw socially too, maybe because of fatigue or anxiety or just not feeling confident. And that can leave the other partner feeling kind of isolated or worried about where the relationship is heading.
It really paints a picture of a potentially really challenging and sensitive time for both people involved.
It definitely can be.
Okay, so knowing all that, understanding the potential symptoms and relationship impacts, what are some really concrete, practical things a partner, specifically a male partner, perhaps can do? How can they offer support, emotionally and physically?
Okay, great question. There are actually lots of meaningful ways to help. First and foremost, get informed, do your own research.
Like reading articles, websites.
Exactly.
Oh,
Websites like menopause.org, yes, the NWSH.org, the International Society for the Study of Women's Sexual Health, or even books on the topic. Just understanding what's happening biologically, the why behind the symptoms, that's huge for building empathy.
makes sense. Knowledge is power.
It really is. Second, try to be sensitive. Show genuine compassion, understanding. Try really hard not to get defensive or place blame if she's expressing frustration.
Easier said than done sometimes, maybe.
Oh, for sure. Using I statements can help there, like, I feel a bit lost when things change suddenly, instead of you're being unpredictable.
Yeah, that's a good communication tip, generally.
It is. And sometimes,
Yeah.
just listen, really listen, without jumping in to try and fix everything. Just validating her feelings can be incredibly powerful.
So resist the urge to problem solve immediately.
Yes, be patient. Those mood swings. Remind yourself they're often hormonal, not a personal attack. This isn't a problem she needs to just get over. It's a major life transition you navigate together.
Okay.
And reassure her. Acknowledge her beauty, your love for her, especially if she's struggling with body changes or feeling less attractive. Encourage open communication. Let her know it's safe to talk about how she's feeling. Ask simple things like, what can I do right now to make things a bit easier for you?
That seems really direct and helpful.
Yeah.
Are there other sort of day-to-day actionable things?
Oh, absolutely. Use humor carefully. A lighthearted moment can ease tension, but never, ever make fun of her symptoms. That's crucial.
Right, fine line there.
Very fine line. Try not to personalize her moods. If she's upset, don't immediately make it about your feelings of being upset by her upset. Allow her space to feel angry or sad or frustrated without judgment.
Okay.
Express approval. Tell her when she looks nice. Remind her of qualities you admire. Maybe plan little surprises. Thoughtful gestures go a long way.
Practical help, too.
Yes. Offer practical help at home. Take on more chores, especially on days she seems overwhelmed. Think about the sleep situation, cool room, maybe even separate rooms temporarily if snoring is an issue and sleep is paramount. Be proactive, try to anticipate stressors and minimize them.
Right, thinking ahead.
Support her health journey. Encourage healthy eating. Suggest exercising together, which research shows can actually boost relationship satisfaction anyway. Offer to go with her to doctor's appointments.
Oh, that's a good one. Show solidarity.
Exactly. Maybe carry helpful things when you're out, like a small fan or a water bottle, just in case. Be flexible. Some days are just going to be better than others.
Adaptability.
Huge. Give her space when she seems to need it, but offer comfort when she wants it. And finally, gently encourage seeking professional help if symptoms are really severe or persistent. Offer to go along. Frame it as a sign of strength, not weakness.
That's a really comprehensive list of supportive actions. Thank you. You mentioned intimacy earlier and how it can be affected. That's obviously a big area for many couples. What specific advice is there for navigating those changes?
Yeah, it's a really important area. And again, open, honest communication is just paramount. You have to be able to talk about the physical changes, dryness, pain, whatever it is, and also about shifts in libido without blame or shame.
Okay, so talking first.
Absolutely. And patience is key here, too. Arousal might take longer. Don't pressure her for sex. That's likely to backfire. Instead, explore and prioritize non-sexual intimacy.
What does that look like?
Cuddling, massage, just holding hands, having deep conversations, thoughtful gestures. All those things maintain connection and closeness, even if penetrative sex isn't happening as often or at all for a time.
Building connection in other ways.
Precisely. Be really open to trying lubricants or vaginal moisturizers. Maybe even suggest you look into them and buy them together. Make it a team effort.
Take some of the awkwardness out, perhaps.
It can, yeah. Be flexible about what intimacy even means. Doesn't have to look exactly like it did before. Focus on staying physically close in ways that feel good and comfortable for both of you. Ask her directly, what feels good right now? What helps you feel close?
Right. Keep asking.
And if intimacy issues are causing significant distress for either of you, really consider consulting a healthcare provider or a sex therapist who understands menopause. It's a sign you're prioritizing the relationship.
Good advice.
And to try to remember, this is often a phase. It doesn't necessarily mean the end of your intimate life together. It's an evolution.
That's a hopeful perspective. Okay, this has been incredibly insightful. One last but really important point we wanted to cover. Self-care for the partner, the man in this situation. Why is that so crucial?
Oh, it's absolutely vital. Because supporting a partner through menopause,
Wow.
while rewarding, can also be genuinely challenging, emotionally, practically. It takes energy.
Sure, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
So acknowledge that it might be tough for you too sometimes. Prioritize your own self-care. Talk to your friends, family, maybe even look for support groups for partners. There are resources out there.
Okay.
Keep up your own healthy habits, exercise, good food, manage your own stress levels, whatever that looks like for you, hobbies, relaxation, time out,
Makes sense.
and perhaps most importantly, stay connected with your partner on an emotional level. That strong bond is what will see you through. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It ensures you actually have the patience, the energy, the emotional bandwidth to be that supportive partner she needs right now.
That's a fantastic point to end on. This has been such a helpful deep dive into perimenopause and menopause, really framed from that partner's perspective. It just seems so clear that understanding, open communication, and that mutual support, they're absolutely key to navigating this together.
They really are. And maybe the final thought to leave you with is this. Try to approach this whole transition as a team, as a partnership.
Hmm.
If you can be patient, show that understanding, be willing to adapt together, your relationship really can come out the other side even stronger, more connected. The woman you love is still right there.
Absolutely.
Her needs might be changing for a while, but she's still her. And your support, your empathy, it makes a world of difference, truly.